Good afternoon, welcome to Rundlii Gaming. We're going to be doing a video on the board game called Ascension. This will be Chronicles of the Godslayer. This is very similar to the game of Dominion in a lot of ways. If you ever played Dominion, you can probably give a pretty good understanding of how this game is going to play out as well. Some differences and some similarities. You will have a deck of 10 cards to begin with. You'll have 8 of these ones and 2 of these ones. Now, like this one here is a militia. On the bottom here you're going to see that there is a red circle with a +1 and a sword going through it. That means you get +1 combat for the round. Then there is a Apprentice. These ones have a little triangle at the bottom here, and the triangle represents ruins. Ruins are effectively money. You can use money to make purchases, use combat to fight monsters, and then as you kill monsters it also gives you victory points. The last resource you're going to run into is what will be on this card here. On the bottom there you'll see a star and a number 1 on it. This is victory points. So each round you're going to, first you're going to go ahead and take your 10 cards that you would have gotten. Go ahead and shuffle them up really good. And then you're going to draw 5. At that point, you will play all the cards you have. In this case, I just have 5 of the ruins, which is, as I said, pretty much currency. Now, you'll have different cards out here. Now, one of the big differences between this and, say, Dominion is that Dominion you have a bunch of stacks of cards, whereas this one you actually just have a area that you can purchase out of. For example, you have 6 spaces here that will always be filled. So if I kill this monster, for example, a new card will be drawn and it'll replace it. Or if I purchase one of these, or whatever I do, it'll have different options like that. And then, in addition, you'll see these little gems here. The little white clear gems, which are probably kind of hard to see on this, those are going to be worth 1 victory point each. And these big red pieces of plastic are going to be worth 5 victory points each. Once you run out of a predetermined amount, usually in a 2-player game, you're going to have 60 victory points you have to hit. On a 3-player game, you have to have 90 victory points, and then on a 4-player game, you'll be at 120. So once you hit that particular number, that's when the game will end up ending at that point. And then whoever's turn it was when it ended can continue getting additional victory points, but once their turn ends, it ends the game as well. So how this is going to play out is then you can spend this money to buy any number of cards you have here. So for example, if I wanted to spend 3 of these to buy 1 of these mystics, now what these cards are on the side, they're kind of like your generics. This one is, if you play her, you're going to get 2 money for it. And if you play the heavy infantry, you can get 2 combat from it. The cultist, you don't actually get rid of him when you kill him, but he gives you 1 victory point every time you defeat him. So let's say if I use 2 combat to kill this one, normally you would throw the monsters in the void here, which is just another spot here on the board. So let's say if I were to kill this guy, he would go into this space here, and then I get any kind of reward that comes from that. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and spend the 5 money, and I'm going to buy this Apprentice. Now, normally what you're going to see on this card here is there's a cost up here. This one's cost 4, and then it has an effect on it. The effect for this one is you draw 2 cards, then you banish a card in your hand. So this kind of helps you filter your deck a little bit. So let's say if I were to play this, I would draw 2 cards from my deck. Then something that I haven't played yet, I have to throw into the void, which gets rid of it out of the game completely. That's where you're going to see the difference between banishment. Any kind of banishment term will go to the void itself, which means it's completely out of the game. If it says discard, it goes to your discard pile, which then you can use it when you reshuffle your deck. So I'm going to go ahead and buy that. And I'm going to go ahead and throw these in my discard pile. And then the second player would also do the same thing. So let's say they're going to go ahead. Oh yeah, we also got to replace this card. So that's another monster. So they're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In this case, they got 4 money and 1 combat. This one's actually pretty good, because their effect is that you can copy the effect of a hero play this turn. Now there are going to be a couple different cards here that you're going to be dealing with. First off, you have your monsters. The monsters will be like these kind of brownish, reddish card. You have constructs. Now what constructs do is when you play them, they're going to be in your permanently in play part of the game. So let's say if I were to drop this card, it stays in play. It does not go to my discard pile once I've used it. And then, for example, what this particular construct does is once per turn you gain 1 currency, and each time you play a Lifebound hero, each turn you gain a victory point. And this would actually stay in the field for the rest of the game, or unless it's destroyed. So this is good for because even though the 1 money isn't a huge deal, it is something you're getting every round. So eventually that's going to start adding up if you have 4 different things that do things like that. But unfortunately, can't afford that one because it's worth it costs 5. There's one other symbol on this card that I was going to mention. Is on the bottom corner here. You're going to see another little star. You don't collect these victory points immediately, but at the end of the game, what you're going to do is go through your deck, and you're going to count up all your victory points that you currently have on your cards as well. And what that kind of helps you with is, depending on what you buy, you don't have to defeat a bunch of monsters in order to win. You could actually fight no monsters at all and still win just fine. You could just purchase a ton of stuff and get tons of victory points from that. Or you can get a lot of the green cards here. The green ones tend to give you just victory points straight off without actually giving you any kind of kill condition. So they also have 1 combat out of what they currently appear, so they can't kill anything. As I said, if they did have a second one, they could go ahead and probably kill this cultist, which would then give them a victory point. Because these other monsters are 4, 3, 3, 4, so it's a little bit difficult to kill those right now. Alright, so we're going to go back to the first player, and we're going to go ahead and replace the card that we used already. So, 1 combat, 2 combat, 1 money, 2 money, 3 money. So, they can't kill any of the big monsters here, which we can see that, but they can kill cultists. Now, as I said, you're not going to actually throw this into the void like you normally would another monster. You're just going to state that I'm going to kill this one time, so I collect 1 victory point, and then I kind of put it in a stash that I currently have. And then I've effectively used those 2 combat there. And now I have 3 money left. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to buy this one. It costs 1, and its ability is just draw a card. So it kind of helps you go through your deck a little bit. I'm going to throw that in my discard pile. So I've already used 1, and I have 2 left. And it's another monster. Now effectively this is actually just going to keep repeating and repeating and repeating. I think at this point, for the most part, you understand the game. If you've watched the video up to this point, you understand the gist of what's kind of going on. But we're going to kind of go over some of what these monsters do, and we're going to kind of show you a little bit more of what these kind of cards can do. So in this case, let's say if you were to kill this monster, you gain 4 victory points. You may banish a card in the center row and or in your discard pile. So this kind of will help you filter your deck a little bit. So whatever you have in your discard pile, this will help you banish it, which will take it completely out of the game. You can also banish something in the middle row. So let's say if I killed this, I could also get rid of another card in the center row. And it kind of gives more options because you immediately have to replace both of those. So in that particular case, it kind of gives you better options. Because let's say if you don't want to get most of these other things. Or let's say if you're trying to deny someone else from getting something you know they're probably going to want. Because let's say they're maybe building a bunch of constructs. Maybe you don't want them to keep this construct. You can't afford to buy it yourself. So what you may do is you may kill this guy to banish this. And then we have this one. In this case, you gain 2 victory points. You may banish a card in the center row. So like in this case, it just gets rid of another card in the center row. It's worth 2 victory points, so it's not too bad. And as I said, if you kill any of these, you get those victory points immediately. So you actually collect gems whenever you kill any kind of monster. This particular one, you gain 1 victory point and then you draw a card. So you would draw another card for your deck, so it helps you get a little additional cards as well. This one here, you gain 4, well, it's actually the same as that one. This one's the same as that one. Then it said with the constructs, these are going to stay in play. So you might play all your cards, and you might play this one. Instead of this going to your discard pile, the constructs stay in play. Now, that might seem overpowered at first. However, there are actual monsters that help you deal with constructs, because constructs can be a big problem really quickly. Like this is a different monster too. Like he can gain 1, well, you gain 1 victory point and 1 money whenever you kill him. So it kind of helps you buy more stuff. And then here's like some additional types of constructs. So once per turn you may draw a card. So this will be an additional benefits. This is where like if you have a bunch of constructs out, it is really, really beneficial to do. But let's say we were to draw, we have a Sea Tyrant here. If you kill him, you get 5 victory points. If an opponent has more than 1 construct, that player must destroy all but 1 construct. So you do have a lot of monsters that if you defeat them, they also will destroy constructs of your opponents as well. And that's kind of like it kind of helps you deal with the situation where people may get a little crazy with it and keep dropping more and more constructs. And as more constructs come out, it's going to be hard to defeat them. But this one can successfully knock them down quite a bit really fast. You have like the Corrosive Widow here. You gain 3 victory points and each opponent must destroy a construct he controls. In addition to this though, let's say I am running all the constructs. I could also try to kill this monster to hit the other players instead of them hitting me with it. So it may be a race to also kill this monster. Or as I said, you could also use some of these other monsters to banish these other monsters that could damage you instead. So maybe I couldn't kill the Sea Tyrant right now, but if I could kill this guy, I could then banish the Sea Tyrant. And then that kind of gets rid of someone actually doing that. So, I mean, that's why there's definitely some differences in the game. Instead of, just the gold currency, you have both gold and combat. So in the combat, you're having to constantly fight these monsters if you want to get victory points. But you can completely ignore the monsters and just build up lots and lots of cards. So you can make a really huge deck, or you can thin out your deck to where you just have a really consistent deck. There's a lot of different strategies. I've played this quite a few times, and playing each of the different strategies does have a different feel to it. And with each of those feel, it definitely will give you a different play style, and they each have a different way of winning. So as an example, you have Lifebound. Lifebound, they tend to do a lot of stuff that just immediately gives you victory points. Let's say, if I can find a few here. So for example, if I play the Witch here, you gain 2 victory points and you draw a card. You just play this, you get 2 victory points, and then you just draw another card, so it kind of replaces itself. Or this one, once per turn you gain 1 money. The first time you play a Lifebound hero each turn, you gain a victory point. The Lifeblood Initiative, you get 1 money and 1 victory point by playing this. So you get 1 of each. And that's kind of how the Lifebound mostly play. There are little variations of it. And then you have like your Enlightened. Enlightened tend to do a lot more card draw. And like this one just says draw a card. This says once per turn you can draw a card. So it does tend to deal a lot with that. And then after that you have the Void. these tend to do a couple different things, but for the most part what they are designed to do is to get rid of stuff currently in your discard pile or your hand. So for example, this one you'll get 2 combat. You may banish a card in your hand or discard pile. So this kind of helps you thin your deck. This one you gain 1 money. You may banish a card in your hand or discard pile. And then they also have some really big ones that have a lot of combat. For example, this one you just gain 4 combat. So it's just a really big, powerful swing. But a lot of the purple cards are meant for that. They're really good about just thinning out your deck and making it more efficient at whatever you plan on it doing. The last thing you have is the Makana. Now, the Makana, however you pronounce it, these are more like your robot faction. And these deal a lot with constructs. Primarily, they're very much designed to deal with constructs in some fashion or form. Now, there are constructs outside of their faction, but their faction can also switch all the other constructs to this type of construct as well. So, like in the case of this one, once per turn when you acquire another construct of this type, you may put it directly into play. So let's say if I were to acquire a construct from the center here, I can immediately put it in play if I were to use this one, or if it's already in play. Or once per turn when you put one of these types of constructs into play, including this one, you draw a card. So this kind of gives you additional cards if it's just sitting in play already. And then they tend to build up a whole bunch of constructs that the game plays through as well. So that's kind of the primary builds here as far as the different kind of factions. Like I said, these ones kind of focus a lot on the different constructs. You know, for example, some of their heroes, like their creatures, you get 2 combat, and then you gain 1 victory point for each faction among constructs you control. So if you have 1 of each construct, you're going to get that many victory points as compared to just 1 if you have constructs from only this one. So this kind of pushes you into breaking into the other factions as well as far as getting those constructs. So, and that's where you're going to see the different playstyle. And they are fairly balanced. I'm sure there are some that are going to be a little bit more optimal in certain ways. But for the most part, if you can get your engine going with the different factions, they can do really, really, really well at what they do. So they're all designed to be pretty good at what they're designed, built for. So purple can really thin out your deck, and then as it gets thinner, you can always see a lot of the more powerful cards that you end up pulling out. But that is the game of Ascension. Like as I said, it's as you buy cards from the center here, you replace them with new ones. So you're not going to see just certain stacks, but you just have to play through an entire deck. The entire deck itself is going to depend solely on what kind of stuff is drawn as the game plays. So that is the game of Ascension. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Definitely watch next week. We'll have another video of another game. I don't know which one offhand. But definitely watch for more videos, and we'll be doing more how to play videos in the future as well. Thank you for watching Rundlii Gaming. You have a good day.